electronic music podcast.
All right, here we are.
Good, let's do it.
Yeah, Voice of Electronic Music, episode number 8. I wanted to get that right this time because last time I said 7 and it was, in fact, no, this is 9. Fuck me, this is 9.
Oh man, that's breaking my heart because I'm a life path 8. That's my number.
Are you really?
I'm an 8.
See, Ryan said he was a life path 7.
Did you talk about a life path?
He did.
I'll be damned. So we're 9.
We're 9.
Interesting.
9. 9's kind of a lucky number too, though. Sometimes.
No, 9's a good number when you're doing the whole numerology thing and studying life path and how the numerology works out.
Totally.
9's like a chill number. 9's like you want to be a 9.
Interesting.
You know, 9's like you got your shit sorted out. 8's no good.
8's no good.
8's no good. Just kidding.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah. So we're here with Bruce Mac Vaughn.
Yep.
And we are at Halcyon here in San Francisco, which is one of San Francisco's best nightclubs. And we've got to thank JoJo and Gina and Rhea and Leah for letting us host here. So thank you, ladies. And I just wanted to sit down with Bruce. Bruce is actually friends with Ryan Michael Robbins on the last podcast. He's doing mixing and mastering for your record label.
Yep.
No, sorry, for Dark Star.
Yeah, for Dark Star Audio. So,
Okay.
Dark Star Audio is like a mixing, mastering, production firm, and we do artist development as well. And then Ryan and I are partners on a label called Fierce Animal Recordings.
Nice.
So Ryan and I run that label together, and so we spend a copious amount of time together.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And you guys both live in Oakland, so that helps.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Both live in Oakland.
Nice. Yeah, I just recently went over and checked out his place. It's that's actually like one of my dream. His house is fucking sweet. It's like the loft with it's got the sound booth in there, and it's real industrial looking.
I also live in a loft, which is really funny.
Nice.
Yeah, I know. Ryan and I have a lot of, I think that's just life, though. You always, when you meet someone that you gel with, there's always going to be interesting synchronicities,
Right.
So yeah, he lives in a loft. I also have a loft. Yeah, he's got the sound box.
Yeah.
I don't have a sound box. I used to have a sound box, but
That thing is sweet.
I sold mine.
Yeah.
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 For drug money.
Oh man.
I'm just kidding. I didn't do that. That's a joke. I didn't do that. It's probably not even funny.
I wouldn't blame you.
Some people are probably like, "That's not funny."
That's not funny.
That's not funny. Okay, I should have just kept it. Yeah. Should have just ran with it.
You smoked the sound booth, didn't
I
you?
I smoked the sound booth. It's gone. I put it all up my nose.
Oh, that's great. Well, let's get into the record label
Sure.
and the mixing and mastering.
Yeah.
I wanted to just kind of ask you, like, let's see, what would you consider as kind of critical to the success of a record label, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of things. I've been running a record label since 2009, and that's when I started Fierce Animals. And, I've come in contact with a lot of different people who also run record labels, anywhere from, even smaller labels than mine to, grander labels, that are, much bigger than mine, like EMI and Sony. And I've made connections with, some of those
Sure.
type of caliber of people who run labels,
Totally.
And the thing that always surprises me, even though I know it shouldn't surprise me, is how the game, and I call it the game, everything in life is a game. Yeah. The game is always changing, before Spotify and before SoundCloud, it was, labels were just trying to make Beatport sales, and now it really seems like people just want plays on YouTube and Spotify. No one really seems to care about Beatport sales. I mean, they do. I'm not saying that they don't, but now it's all about generating plays. I mean, now they have like Spotify farms. They've got like phone farms in foreign countries where
I've
they're
seen videos of that.
Yeah. So I think it's just the landscape is constantly changing. So. Was the question a challenge? What are the challenges? I forgot what the question was.
What would you consider critical to the success of a record label? Yeah.
So I think keeping up with the changing landscape was the short answer.
Being fluid.
Yeah, sometimes I just run off on a tangent.
Totally.
I'm old.
That's that's how my brain works too.
Yeah. So just keeping up with the changing landscape, that's critical, and I think staying relevant. I can only speak from my perspective of running my label, but staying relevant, finding new artists, finding good artists, not getting lazy, artwork, making sure that your artwork is good, and networking and making connections and staying, as an, when I put on the A&R hat, am I finding fresh new talent that is going to get those listens and get those plays,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the artwork is a big one, right? Like your kind of all-encompassing look as an entity.
Vibration.
It's a
It's a
very
vibration.
important.
Yeah.
Totally. And you guys have a great one. I love it.
Thank you.
With the lots of grays and blacks and
yeah. Last year we went a bit more minimal. Let me get my phone. I'll show you the new one. The new one just came out today. Yeah. We've the label has always been techno and minimal tech house, and recently we've been going more techno. We've been like, what, minimal is great, but it changes a lot. Like there's always like Melbourne and deep tech and and then there's this and it just there's too much going on in the genre itself.
Right.
And most of the stuff that Ryan and I were putting out is definitely more on the techno side of things. And for me, as someone who is considered themselves as an artist, when I'm putting on the artist hat, I just find that I identify more with like that techno sound.
Right.
So I've been pushing my sound to to go more in the techno genre.
Nice.
But here's the new artwork. So
sweet.
this is the artwork. Maybe we can.
Oh, I did see this one. Yeah.
So this is, you probably can't see it. From
Yeah,
there.
it's a
It's
little.
tiny.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Well,
If you want to see the artwork, check out Fierce Animal Recordings.
Yeah, for the people that are listening, it's got like a kind of geometric spiral. It's white and black. It's got like a person wearing a mask with like a kind of white hood in a triangle. It's really pretty sweet.
It's very Eyes Wide Shut vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very like occulty looking,
Yeah.
But we're still keeping the black and white theme, and we've got some geometric patterns in there. But I think this captures more of the the direction that we're going.
Totally.
So I think the artwork is going to be every year we change it. So we have a series.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a theme.
Right.
So this year's theme is who do we want coming to our parties?
Nice.
So you'll see as each album cover comes out, it's wild.
Oh,
man.
I like
Oh
that.
yeah, man, they're wild, man.
That's cool.
Some of the stuff some of the artwork that's coming out, it's in my opinion, this is going to be. I think this is going to be the best year the label's ever had, just based on the artwork alone.
Right.
We're getting a lot bigger caliber of artists coming to work with us. Like we just got a remix from Drum Complex, who's crushing it in techno, and just so stoked to have him on the label.
Wow.
And
That's great.
Maxim Dark we work with a lot, and he's got some releases coming up. Kaiser Soze, Ben Champel, some really good names.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I'm pumped. I'm happy.
And having two, you said that kind of paring down your genres that you're releasing, that really kind of also helps identify, makes it easier to put your finger on what kind of sound that is, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the theme, and I've said this a lot to Ryan, the theme for me, from my life, actually, just everything that I'm kind of focusing on is narrow focus. That's my word, right? Narrow focus. And I think that's what we're doing with the label. We're just like, what? Let's focus it down to what we really love, instead of someone sends us a demo and it's good, and we're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, but it's not really, you're right. It's not really what we're really going after.
Right.
Does it fit within this vibe? And I think that's the direction that we're taking the label is like, we want to. Of course, there's tons of stuff. I mean, like I love so much music that's out there, but I think having that narrow focus, even more than we already had, is going to bring a lot more attention to the label, and like really allow either listeners or DJs to know what they're getting with the label. I think we'll get like a lot more followers. I think it's just going to be a good thing for the label.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit more rare when you see a label like Ghostly or something. I always use them as an example, that has like hip hop and taiko and kind of all
people
these.
love it.
They love it. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it.
No, nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit, I guess, maybe more challenging, or maybe not, because you have more to work with. I don't know. It's kind of always, it's something that I'm sure there's pros and cons to either of them. You know what I mean?
I think take a label like Ghostly, or even like DFA. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like some of these like labels. I think the mentality might be the more encompassing, the more that we can release the better. And people, identify with that. We're like, oh, what's, I'm going to follow Ghostly around, and what, what am I going to get? It's like a grab bag. But in that grab bag, they've done their due diligence to make sure that what they're delivering is, I guess the word, classic to them.
Yeah.
Right?
No, totally.
So,
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's good.
That's and to touch back on the art thing too. That's actually something I've been kind of working on for my personal brand. So I might like reach out and consult with you guys to kind of get some advice at least.
Yeah, it'd be great, man. Yeah.
Nice. So what do you have any like recent project or like current projects that you can talk about that you're kind of excited about, or any particular new artists?
For the label, I mean, other than the people that I mentioned that we've got remixes for, obviously we've got some other artists coming to the label that I'm excited about. I'm not sure if we're in contract yet, but I think we are.
Yep.
So I don't want to say yet.
Yep.
But other than that, yeah, just, I would say that this is going to be the year where we go big with the label. I don't want to mention any names, but we're in contact with, I'll just say, people that would, maybe frequent the top 100 and even top 10 in techno.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's
so
exciting.
we're talking to people, and we're like, hey, come be on the label. Look how sweet our artwork is.
Right. We got good vibes.
No, we've been, I think we've been around long enough, and we know how to work with people, and artists know that we're, they know we're serious, and we've put our, we've paid our dues. We've been in the top 100, and we've been in the top 100 label consistently.
Right.
So it's been good.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's interesting how Beatport has kind of shifted from being the most important to kind of now it's like, everyone's looking kind of at Spotify, and, SoundCloud has kind of taken a back seat to a certain degree. People still use it, but it's like,
I used to call it the Beatport game. Bring up the game, right? Everything in life is a game.
Yep.
So yeah, the Beatport game, I had mastered that. That was a fun thing to do. I have not mastered the Spotify game, but I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. Now here in this podcast, and any podcast and any interview or any time I talk to people, and even with my mixing and mastering business, when people come to me for advice, even with Spotify. Even if you're getting millions of plays, it's still not enough to pay a salary.
Right.
Is it enough to keep a label going? Yeah, kinda. I think as a label, you have to keep, even if you're getting Spotify, downloads, and you're getting, Beatport sales and whatnot, you still have to find other ways to, keep revenue coming in to keep your label afloat.
Yeah.
It's
kind of it's an unfortunate number that they.
It's very
give
unfortunate.
To artists,
it's a crime.
It is.
It's a crime.
We're looking at you, Spotify.
Yeah, seriously.
Although I did hear Spotify, I think, is one of the better ones.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that things change soon enough where I'm not. I think in the U.S. we have royalties. I know artists get paid out on royalties. What I would like to see is some of those royalties, for streaming sites,
right,
be a little bit more. What's the word? Advantageous. Maybe is that the word?
Right.
For artists, But that's the crazy thing about music is even you see someone who's not getting royalties, or maybe they're getting Spotify plays, and they'll just keep doing it. That's the beautiful thing about music.
Right.
Is that people will keep doing it. Even when they're not making any money.
Because that's how much it means to us.
Yeah, no, it really is. So I think, always reinventing yourself and always finding new ways to make money is really the name of the game.
Right.
Whether you're an artist, label, producer, whatever you're doing.
Whatever, yeah. Yeah.
I won't, I have nothing to hide. I mean, our label's done better than some. I can't say that, I can't pay my rent on it, but the label supports itself.
Right.
It pays for new remixes. We were able to pay out our artists when their sales are, there.
Yeah.
But as an artist myself, I couldn't, without doing all these different things that I do, I wouldn't be able to do what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I make a living from
Totally.
music, so.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that in and of itself is a huge feat.
I'm a
huge
unicorn.
accomplishment. Yeah. Right.
A unicorn.
Absolutely. And do you guys release do you do the whole wave? You can buy a wave. You can buy an MP3. You
Of
can
course.
Buy yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
I feel like it's kind of standard these days.
Yeah, I think it's pretty standard.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the day when, and I don't know if this will actually happen, but when everything kind of switches to maybe streaming with waves and stuff like that.
I think you're going to see that pretty soon.
Yeah.
I think I think someone's already trying to do this. I think what you'll see is where you've got a subscription on Beatport, where you're actually not even downloading anymore.
Right.
I know there's companies that have tried to do this.
Right.
Basically, imagine you log on and you've got your cart and you've got like a monthly amount that you pay, and you hit a button and it syncs your music to your USB or whatever, and then you come and you DJ. And the music's there.
Well, so there was a company. My buddy was actually working for them.
Yeah.
It was called Pulse Locker.
Pulse Locker, that's
Pulse
them.
Locker,
Yeah, what happened to them?
They actually got bought out by, I think, Pioneer.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I think that's what you'll see, because it doesn't really, especially with streaming, it doesn't really make sense. It's just the changing landscape.
Right.
It doesn't make sense to buy tracks anymore.
Right.
So I think you're gonna be able to DJ on Spotify soon as well. I think you'll be able to lock up your tracks and take them with you on your laptop and hook them up. I think the future of audio is just going to get more and more. It's going to become
crazy.
it's going to get crazy.
Yeah.
It's going to get crazy.
It's getting wild. We're still very much in the wild, wild west of the internet in many ways,
Oh, absolutely. The internet's so young.
It's so young.
Did you and Ryan talk about cryptocurrency?
Yeah, of course he brought it up.
Of course, yeah. So when people say we're in the infancy of the internet, I immediately think of something like cryptocurrency, right, which has been around for 10 years but hasn't had the lifespan that the internet has had so far.
Right.
And I always think like, what's going to be like in another 10 years with the internet, cryptocurrency, music, all these things.
Right.
So,
well, he was bringing up a good point. I was just giving him shit about he's very passionate about it, which I think he should be. And I was telling him I would like to get more in the know about it, just because I do feel like it's one of these things that it's so it's like one of those things where people will be like, oh, well, you already missed the wave. And it's like, no. That was like the first little lap up onto the shore, and there's still like a tidal wave coming. You know what I mean?
I think so. That was a pretty big. I think that was a pretty big wave. It
was.
That we just witnessed with the last January 2017 with 2018.
Yeah.
The wave crashed.
Right, yeah.
But I'm pretty confident that we'll see another wave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to be. It's going to be what it will always be. There, it will always be used. I think it's only going to get more used, and you know what I mean.
It's an interesting time that we live in. Here's what I think, honestly. Imagine how the first person who received a dollar bill felt,
right,
instead of a rock of gold,
yeah,
or a coin, right? Can you imagine the first person that got a dollar bill? Like here, let me,
this?
What the fuck is this, right? Like, dude, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna wipe my ass with this. Right, yeah. And so here we are 10 years into, cryptocurrency, and, you can buy things. It's not like, oh, what do you want me to do with this? I mean, like, I buy shit with crypto all the time.
Right.
Like crypto works. Like, I locked I got a rental car in Israel in May in 2018 last year. God, it doesn't even seem that long ago. Anyway, I left my iPad in the car. And I had already turned the keys in. They had a drop slot, and I turned the keys in. I was halfway to my hotel, and I was leaving the next morning for a flight back to the U.S. And I'm halfway back to the hotel room. It's like 6 or 7 o'clock at night. Like, I mean, it's like almost time for bed. I'm going to wake up and get on an airplane. And shit, I left my iPad in the car. I remember because I drove out to the Red Sea. So I took my iPad and I stuck it under the seat. Ooh. And I was like, I don't want I don't want to get stolen.
Sure, yeah.
I don't know where the fuck I am. It was, that's a whole nother, that's a whole nother story. So anyway, long story short, I called multiple locksmiths to get back in the rental car.
Oh, wow.
And I told them, I said, I've got the paperwork. I can show that it's, it's still under my,
because they were closed,
it's still under my
what?
watch. Well, yeah, because I didn't have to turn the car in until 9. So technically, by the paperwork, I'm responsible for the car.
Yeah, right.
So a lot of the locksmiths didn't want to deal with me. But this one guy, Steven, Steven, if you're watching,
good dude.
called me and said, or he didn't call me. Yeah, he did. He called me back. Sorry. My brain gets ahead of me sometimes. I got a phone call back, and he said, because it was Shabbat too, this, so like, they don't work. It's like the sun goes down. It's like, I'm not doing anything. And he says, you pay me in Bitcoin? And I said, yeah, I'll pay you in Bitcoin. He was like, okay, I'll come get you and take you back over to your car. So that was really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, really cool. Shout out to Steven.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So he preferred it.
Yeah, he preferred Bitcoin.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it was great. So he showed up, and I took my phone, and we did the thing, and boop, Bitcoin went to him, and he was
Amazing.
like, "Oh man, amazing!" And then we talked about cryptocurrency for the next hour while we drove to go get the car, and we remain friends to this day.
Really?
Over cryptocurrency.
That's great.
Yeah.
And what a perfect currency form for something like music and streaming, right? I mean, we're talking about
There's a few out there.
fractions of cents, for
Absolutely.
each stream.
Yep. Yeah. I think that we'll see cryptocurrency merge with the music industry in the next 4 or 5 years. I really do.
Yeah.
There's a couple. I don't know who it is. There's some. He's a well-known artist. We could look it up. I believe the site's called like Chune or something. CHOON.
Yeah.
And it's a Spotify-like streaming site, but you get paid in cryptocurrency, and I believe it's based off of the Ethereum network.
Interesting.
So I think you're getting like Ethereum tokens for anytime someone plays your track. I saw it on social media. People were passing it around for a while, and I was like, oh man, that'll be interesting if it catches on.
Right.
And that's like one of like 20 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that alone shows you it's like a pressure cooker, right? I think people know, taking it back to that dollar bill thing, I think people know the writing's on the wall.
Right.
Because why would we keep printing money? For those of you listening that are holding your Monopoly money
Right now, as we
right
speak.
now, just cherish these moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Savor it.
save it. Yeah, because eventually we'll be, I mean, I don't know if I'll ever have grandkids, but we'll be showing our grandkids, and they'll be like, oh my God, you guys
dollars.
had paper dollars?
Right.
No one, it's like, you're going to shave off some gold.
Right.
Yeah. So when you really understand the way currency works and the way that evolution is just happening, like, we're evolving as a species and as a society, and the next step of evolution is digital currency.
Right.
So you can get on the bandwagon or you can get left behind.
Totally.
I'm on the bandwagon,
Yeah.
fam.
I'm running behind, like, don't leave me. Don't.
Yeah, no, I'm
I'm gonna jump on. I need to invest a little bit in a particular one, and then
Yeah.
be a little more invested.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we've got a ways to go before we're completely digital.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I can't put a prediction on that, but for a while, even the Federal Reserve was talking about a coin, and
Right.
yeah. Anyway,
Interesting.
so music. I'll take it back.
Yeah.
Take it back to music. I'll talk about cryptocurrency all day.
Yeah.
But I think that what you'll see is a tokenized system where artists are getting paid in cryptocurrency on these sites.
Right.
And instead of Spotify, paying out,
Yeah.
you're getting tokens as your song plays.
Right from the people.
Right from the people.
Right.
And that's something that I would want, right? So I've got a site, and I know there's sites like Patreon.
Yeah.
Imagine you have something like Patreon where people are subscribing to you, and you get like
Right.
whatever. Well, just like Spotify, imagine people are subscribing to you, and every time someone plays, your wallet is getting a token. You're getting tokens.
Wouldn't that be an interesting shift if the money went right from the listener to the artist?
It should.
And
It's
then then the artist in turn pays Spotify.
Yeah.
For the distribution, right?
Yeah, it should. The model's working, but who's it really working for? It's just another fat cat system where the people at Spotify are making bank, and all these
Right.
artists out there, if they're lucky enough to get millions of plays, can make a living, and
Right.
that's not right. I think that Spotify should be paying out. Streaming should support. It should support artists. I'm not saying if
Yeah.
you've got 10 plays, that you should go be able to go buy a mansion.
Right.
But even some very well-known artists,
Right.
mainly rappers. Rappers always seem to complain.
Yeah.
No offense, rappers, if you're watching.
But
Sometimes I
let's-
rap. We could rap together. Give me a call on my
About
cell
our
phone.
sorrows.
But I think that I've seen some I hate using the word major artists, but major artists talking about I've got 10 million plays, and I can't even afford to or whatever the number is. I don't know. I'm throwing out arbitrary numbers,
Right.
but you get my point.
Yeah.
I keep getting close to this mic. It's like, hey, how you doing? Just want to make
the very minimal
make out.
effect. Yeah.
This mic out here.
It's Bruce,
Sorry if
y'all.
sorry if I hurt anybody's ears.
I was reading a Reddit post about Spotify and how they pay out, and I thought it was interesting that someone posted, replied, they're like, yeah, well, Spotify doesn't pay that much, maybe arguably not enough, but the argument is that they're getting a lot of people that previously would just never pay for music and just torrent it or whatever, and now they're at least getting $20 a month or $10 a month or whatever it is. And I was kind of like, it's a good point, but at the same time, like, I mean, I don't know. I feel like there has to be a better solution, right? Like there has to be a solution that's not, going to break your average listener's wallet just to be able to enjoy the music, however they freely, however they want. And a Spotify, I think Spotify is great. Like that was
Spotify.
Yeah,
that was
like,
one of the first. I was using it right when Spotify came out. I signed up.
Yeah. I mean, their whole UI and all this stuff is fantastic.
It's gorgeous.
But there should also be a balance to where, let's say you've got 100,000 plays or something. Like that should be more tangible than
that's
$100.
You took the words right out of right. You felt my energy.
Yes.
Tangible. Tangible is the word. Right. An artist should feel like, oh wow, you're like, look, I got all these plays. They get their royalty statement, and they're like, I'm going to keep going.
Right.
I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep making music.
What's more depressing than getting like a check for like $12.50?
Dude, who was it? There was someone on my Facebook feed one time. I think they're in the UK, and they posted their royalty statement, and it was like 65 cents, and they were like, thanks a lot. And I've had some decent royalty statements, enough to be like, go get a new piece of gear or
sure,
whatever, or like take myself out to dinner. But it's not fun to get a royalty check and be like, what is this? All this hard work, all this gear, all this like knowledge, all this
kind of insulting.
It's kind of insulting. But I think it's I think that's show business. I hate that fucking word. To be honest with you, I hate that fucking word, show business. But I think what it comes down to is not everybody. I hate saying this, man, but not everybody. I tell my clients this all the time. Not everybody can make it.
Right.
I don't know what it is. I don't know I don't know what everybody's specific path is in life.
I don't think there's any magic formula.
I don't think there's there's definitely not a magic formula.
Yeah.
You know what I think it comes down to, and I've been my music career has spanned, and I say career. I started. I played bass in my freshman year of high school. I started playing bass.
Nice.
I was in a band. When I got out of high school, I started DJing. I discovered vinyl and records. I would say that my music career spans close to 20 years, if not 20 years.
Wow.
I'm
nice.
fucking old, man.
Yeah.
I'm ready to retire. But 20 years. And I've had lots of, it's been I won't say tumultuous relationship, but it's been, back and forth. Sometimes I've had to get a day job, and sometimes music's paid the bills,
right.
And when music's paid the bills and I've been happy, it's been the best times of my life.
Totally.
And then, sometimes when I've had to get a day job, I've appreciated that break. I've appreciated the monotony of, a day job, like a 9 to 5, where I know I can feed myself, and it allows me to rest, to go back and try it again,
Yes. Man, when you're worried about how you're going to pay the bills, it's so debilitating for making music or any sort of creativity.
Man, it really is. Try stacking. And as you get older and you want to do the things that society tells you that you should do because you'll be happy, like get married, have a kid, buy a house, do all these things. It gets even harder to accomplish your goals and dreams in music because now you've got all these other responsibilities that you've stacked on, and how are you going to do that?
And it's taken you 15, 20 years just to even make a splash.
Yeah.
And then you're supposed to, I mean, I was telling you, I went to school at Expression.
Yeah.
And that was one of the first things they said is they had this kind of big, group meeting for all the people that just showed up to enroll or whatever. And they were kind of like, one thing that stuck out to me a lot was one of the guys, I think John Scanlon, if you're probably not listening, but what's up, dude?
Shout out to
John, yeah. He had said, this is, very seriously, he said, this is not easy on family. It's not easy on relationships. It's not easy on your wallet, on time.
I've lost a lot of girlfriends doing music.
Right.
I've chose music over girlfriends many a time. Shout out to all my exes. Still love you. In some weird, obscure way.
Yeah.
Not really, though. I don't want to... God, I hope no one's watching. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm nothing but good.
Nothing but love, yeah.
Nothing but love.
Yeah.
Thanks for all the lessons.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Right.
No, but it's tough.
Yeah.
It really is. So, I think we could encapsulate this long thought that we've had by saying that hopefully streaming sites maybe incorporate some kind of better cushion for artists and make their aspirations more tangible, and maybe cryptocurrency is a part of that in the future.
Right. I like what you said, though.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just something about music, and same for art, I guess, or maybe a lot of things. But it just, it's got to be one of the most all-consuming things that someone could be interested in that pays so little. You know what I mean? Like
It's
the amount of
a paradox.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I've thought about this. For years. Like I said, I have a 20-year career, and it always shocks me that the people who are putting out, and it's not always this way. I'm not generalizing or saying whatever. Obviously you've got mainstream pop, and there's money behind that. You've got huge money, backing these pop artists, and they're able to, market in such a way that generates sales. And any person listening now would know that, like, of course, mainstream America loves, what's thrown at them. They'll
Right.
They hear a song on the radio, 20 times, and then all of a sudden they think they love it, know. So, but when you're dealing with, dance music, underground music, anything that's not mainstream, those people should be able to, those people should be able to taste some sort of success as well,
Right.
And good music finds its way, to a mass of people that, it happens is what I'm
Totally.
trying to say. It definitely happens, but it always shocks me how there's so much good music out there that will never make it to the light of day, and those people have to give up.
Just because they can't get enough eyes.
They just can't get the eyes. They can't
traction.
get,
Yeah.
I'm all over Spotify. I get these, Spotify does this thing called Discover Weekly. I've got amazing playlists with music that I'm like, oh my God, there was this one. I'm a sucker for female vocals. I'm a diva
Same.
at heart. Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Dude, right? Love diva vocals. I love female vocals. And, God, what was this? It was this like R&B girl. But it was like kind of like R&B glitch, just like, I don't even know what you would call it. And I heard it and I was like, oh my God. And I thought, she's got to have millions of followers. Like, it was that good.
Right.
And I go and she's got like maybe 3,000 Spotify followers, and her plays are all under 1,000. I go to her Facebook page and I'm like, of course I'm like, oh, I discovered her. This is great.
Right.
And I've kept my eye on her. But I, in the last 2-3 years, no new music's come out from her. Nothing's materialized. And that's what I mean, is it's sad that someone like her, who, like, my perception, and I've, been listening to music, it's sad. She'll probably never get, the break that she probably really needs.
Totally. Yeah.
And, and I think that comes back to just people's paths and how hard one is willing to push. I've pushed.
How much you're willing to give up.
Yeah. It's how much you're willing to give up. And I
Right.
think the universe just does that to you. I think that's why we're here.
Yeah, I think
But
so.
I won't even get into that.
Yeah.
That's a whole other.
I wanted to write down two things
I didn't
before
bring any candles or incense, crystals.
Sorry if I don't write these down.
Yeah, no.
Okay. You made me remember something that I feel like in electronic music especially, there's a certain amount of discovery that people have. And this could be said for music in general, but for electronic music, people really like to discover stuff on their own. You could send something to someone and they're like, oh, this is cool. And then yet somehow if they circle back and they stumble across it on their Spotify playlist or whatever, it's theirs all of a sudden.
Oh, absolutely.
And they totally love it,
I'm still like that.
Yeah, it's a weird, like, hipster
I do
thing.
all with my friends. Oh yeah. I can't even. I have one of my best friends, Rob. Shout out to Rob if Rob's listening. We, for the last 10, 15 years, are always trying to outdo each other and find some hidden gem
Right.
that the other one hasn't heard and blow their mind.
Yeah.
Right. And we do it all the time. Rob constantly brings something, and I'm like, the fuck did you find this? This is amazing. We do it all the time.
Yeah.
And I'll never stop doing that. I'll never stop digging for gold.
Totally.
Yeah.
Are you aware of freesample.org?
No, what's that?
Well, you should definitely check it out.
Okay.
It's is it freesample? Yeah, it's freesample.org. It's just it's a website where a lot of users will upload samples that they've made themselves, and they'll list the copyright law. So some people will be like, you can use this for commercial, or this has zero
I think
copyrights.
Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe,
it's pretty
I've been on
fantastic.
sites like that. If
Yeah.
not, yeah.
Definitely check out that one. But
Okay.
I stumbled across something that was like, this guy was, I don't know where he's from, but he was making these weird kind of glitch hoppy, kind of taiko-y things with like very glitchy drums and like guitar licks and stuff, and it was like I want to say it was like a 10 or 12 minute like audio file, and like the description was just like, oh, here's just like some random like beats I put together, and his intention was for people to like maybe use them for some weird commercial or something. There was just such little structure around it, but the fucking thing was like amazing. Like it was very kind of unsorted and all over the place, but yet still had kind of like a feel. And I'm kind of very much into like Bonobo and Tycho and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I was like listening to this thing, and I listened to it probably like for like 2 hours just on loop. And I like sent him a message, and I was like, dude, like I would love to like help you like turn this into something. I was a little crushed because he was like, oh, that's just like my old stuff. I don't really want to do anything with it. Maybe one day. And I was like, oh, fuck.
I know some people are very precious. You know, some people are very, very precious.
Yeah.
They're very precious about their work, and
Right.
I think a lot of that has to do with insecurity. You know,
Totally.
people not really ready.
Like that's not my best stuff or
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh, I
But
get that, yeah.
My point is like, dude, I'm over here on the other side telling you like this has struck like a nerve with me.
Yeah.
And I think it's special enough to at least like other people should hear this.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Random little story.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on? Because we were talking about female vocals. You know, I always bring up and reminisce the days of vinyl where you'd get like the A track and then the B track and then like an acapella and then the instrumental on the backside.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? Because I feel like if I owned a record label, or I do this with my own tracks, I'm like I will release the acapellas. Like if someone asks, or maybe not, some of them will just put up or whatever online. But I feel like it's a very crucial tool for new artists, especially that are wanting to kind of vocals are just hard to come by. Everyone has a computer. Everyone has whatever, Fruity Loops, Ableton. It's not hard to have access to studio quality sounds, right? But getting good vocals is very difficult, and that can really kind of make or break a song sometimes. And if you have something that's cool to like work with, I don't know. I'm just speaking from a place where I've been that person that got some like rare acapella or something. Oh, this is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
You turn it into this great remix or
Yep.
whatever. So I don't know.
Yeah. What was your question?
I
think you were saying, well, how do I feel about like vinyl? We went to vinyl.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, do you think that should be something that comes back maybe in a digital form?
I think vinyl is coming back. I just went vinyl shopping last
I mean,
weekend.
the acapella vinyl's on a resurgence.
Yeah,
But I mean,
yeah.
like really, because I mean, a lot of record labels are like, and I guess I'm just maybe projecting here, but I'm thinking like, okay, maybe they don't want to release them because they don't want like a whole bunch of like crappy songs made with their vocals, and then it gets weird trying to like, monetize and stuff.
I don't know if I have an answer to that. But yeah, I'll go look for an acapella. There's actually, just like that, freesample.com, there's another acapella site.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember the name of it. Acapella.com. I don't know what it's called. I can't remember.
Acapella.uk or something.
Yeah. But I'll go there, and I've found all kinds of, again, where someone's uploaded something and they're like, I don't care, use it. And I'm like, using it.
Yeah. And it's so unfortunate, too, because I've heard so many really great songs. Are you familiar with Dim and Saints from Oakland?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so they're from Oakland, and some of their early stuff that kind of like broke them out into the scene. They make this like kind of future bass trap stuff, great stuff. But some of their early tracks were like, what was that one? Everybody Wants to Rule the World, and then there's like a Rihanna remix. And they're fucking amazing tracks, but they're just, you can hear the fact that they had to chop up like an MP3 that was shared, that was essentially like ripped from something, and like the quality just overall just suffers. And it's like that track, unless they got the studio quality acapella from Rihanna, it's never going to be the same,
No, I know. I don't know. I think that if you do find a vinyl and there is grab it,
Right.
because how rare is it? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I'd say it's pretty rare. I'd say grab it if you've come across it.
Right.
When I go vinyl shopping, I'm always on the lookout for some weird B-side abstract
Same.
vocal
Yeah.
where I'm like, oh my god, like I'm gonna take that.
Or an or instrumental, or
Yeah.
crazy.
So
Yeah.
cool, man.
Yeah. Let's see what else I got here. We kind of already talked about that. So going into like the mixing and mastering for Darkstar, what are some of your like current tools that you're using? If you are willing to share, or what are some of your favorites?
Yeah. So mastering, I've kind of been using the same mastering tools for the last 8 years.
Right.
Honestly,
Yeah.
my mastering chain has not changed that much because it works.
Totally.
And I'll say this. I think it's also my experience as well. It's, so the tools help, but mastering is such a unique art form that the tools only enhance what the ear is hearing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would say that my biggest tool is my ears and my experience and how I know something should feel and sound. Because I think a lot of times, not a lot of times, most of the time, people are staring at the screen.
Yeah.
Like so many people, they're like looking at the screen. They're like, oh, I'm mastering a track. Well, not if you're not using your fucking ears. You're not. You're using your eyes. And,
Right.
Of course, the gate, the spectrum analyzer and, flashy red lights and, all that, shit, helps for a visual gauge. But I think just, using your ears to master a track is the best thing you can do. But the tools that I use software wise, and I gave a talk on this. You can actually search Mac Vaughn, Ableton, or Mac Vaughn. It was a peer of mine. I spoke for Ableton. A peer of mine had me come down and talk about how I used Ableton for mastering. Most mastering engineers use, I forget the name, Amplitude.
Samplitude.
Samplitude.
A Samplitude.
Yeah,
okay.
right.
Yeah.
It's made for mastering. I mean,
Right.
there are specific software packages out there for mastering.
Yeah.
And even if people don't use those mastering, bundles or packages, then most people are using like Logic, which I'll say this right now. I think Logic does their audio engine sounds a little bit better than Ableton. Like their EQs sound a little bit better. They're a little bit more clean and a little bit more like accurate.
Right.
But that's what I like about Ableton is that Ableton has a little bit more of like a raw sound, and I think it gives a little bit more room for forgiveness. But in that forgiveness is where you kind of get a little bit of this like dirt, as I
Right.
like to call it.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
and that's just shows how long I've been doing it, that I've focused in on what I like to listen to.
Yeah.
So I like to use a lot of the Ableton plugins. I use the what is it called? It's a compressor. It's one of the newer ones. Not the drum compressor. The glue.
Glue compressor.
Glue compressor.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So I use the glue compressor.
We worked with Cymatics on that.
Yeah, was it Cymatics?
I think so.
Yeah, or was it Softtube?
Softtube, maybe.
No, I think it was Cymatics. No, it's Native Instruments who worked with Softtube.
Oh, that's it.
You're
Okay,
right.
Yeah.
Cymatics.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
So I use in Ableton, and Logic does this automatically. Logic has like a mix bus, and then they have the master fader. So I'll create a return channel for my mix bus, and then I'll route everything into my mix bus, and I'll throw the glue compressor on my mix bus, and I run everything through that before it even touches the master channel.
Oh, interesting.
So I
you
use
route
that for
everything-
gain staging.
You route everything to a bus.
I route everything to a bus
and
first,
then to the.
and then to the master.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What's the benefit in that?
I don't know.
No, just
I'm just
personal work.
It's a gain staging.
Gain staging,
I just use it
okay.
for gain staging.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just the process of getting everything to be louder.
Right.
And I've gotten and you can look on YouTube. I've gotten shit. Shout out to my haters. I've gotten shit on YouTube for things clipping or being in the like, oh look, it's compressed, and I'm like, you know what? Show me a fucking dance music track that isn't overly compressed, right?
Yeah.
So in when I say mastering, when it comes to electronic music in the industry that I'm in, it's loud. People want it to be loud.
Right.
Not every genre.
Yeah.
EDM, techno, anything that's going like, into a big sound system. Usually they want it pretty loud.
Yeah.
But not everybody. Some of my clients don't want their shit that loud. They want to leave some of the dynamic room in there. But most of the bigger tracks that we do, it's like just fucking smash.
Dude, yeah.
Smash it.
Yeah.
Compress it. But there's an art to it. There's also an art to smashing something and still making it sound like it hasn't been smashed.
Right.
And that's the kind of mastering that we do.
Yeah.
We're like, how can we get this as loud as possible so it stands up to every other track that you're going to find in the Beatport Top 100 for its respective genre, and still have some life left to it
Without falling apart.
I don't personally like to smash things.
Yeah.
Okay. unless they're relationships. I'm good at doing that.
Yeah, no,
I'm kidding.
Yeah, like, I mean, some, I was reading an article, and some, like, Claude Von Stroke tracks get to, like, -6 LUFS, which is just, like, insane.
Yeah, but
like,
yeah.
so loud.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they sound fucking great.
That's that's exactly what I'm saying. So,
Yeah.
So so I go to a mix bus, I compress everything there, then I send it to the master, and that's where like if do I do that every time? No, but most of the time I do, because it allows me to give that -3 or -6 dB of headroom.
Right.
So I'll do that if I need to make more headroom.
Yeah.
But I just do it out of habit now. I just send it there. I don't know that it really matters as far as like signal flow goes, but it does help me control some of the gain staging that I do.
Nice.
With getting it louder.
Yeah.
And then other tools that I use, I'm a huge fan of Isotope's new, what is it called? Neutron 2. Yeah. I don't use that as much in my mastering as I do mixing. I use it more for mixing.
Yep.
But sometimes I'll use it for mastering. So
Yeah.
it's in my mastering chain, and I'll use it if I feel like the track needs it. It's got this really good setting in the mix bus setting. So it's actually got a mix bus preset called Balance or something. I can't remember, but it adds a little bit more low end.
Yeah.
Kind of gives the track a little bit more body.
Right.
It's just a really nice preset, and I'll use that sometimes.
And that's really what mastering is about. Is just adding all these little,
it's just
tiny,
little. Oh man,
like,
dude. Oh my God.
almost to where you're just like, do I hear it or not? But
Yep.
you add enough of those,
Yep.
and it kind of.
Yeah.
So I have done mastering for my buddy's record label, more just out of necessity. I don't know that if I'd consider myself a mastering engineer per se. I know what I'm doing to a certain degree, and I have a semi-treated room, whatever. I think more importantly than anything, I know more about it. I can get a better sound than maybe some of the artists that are doing it and trying to do it themselves.
Yeah. It's not that hard. It's just we can talk about that. You know what it is it's insecurity. I'll
Right.
come back to it. I'll go over my tools real quick, and then I'll come back to the insecurity, and because
Totally.
I have a theory about this.
Nice.
I'm pretty confident on it. Anyway, the other tools I use are waves. I use waves, and then I use Synoxis' stereo, and I use that to do my stereo imaging. And then I use Pro L2 for my limiting.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's the best limiter as far as like digital is concerned.
That's great.
And then for reference, I use Sample Magic's. Was it Sample AB? Magic Sample. It's or was it Magic AB? It's like a AB. So, and that's really the biggest one is the AB. I think it's called Magic AB.
Yeah.
Sample Magic makes a plugin where you can basically AB your master to other master tracks, and you can load up to 9 of them, and set cue points and whatever. So I'll load in 9 tracks. We'll have our clients send us 9 references, and we'll go back and forth and make sure that that our track, after we're done mixing and mastering it, sounds as good as, if not better than, the references that they've sent us.
Nice.
Does it fit? Does it feel like the vibe?
Yeah.
Because that's really what it comes down to.
Right.
So those are the tools I use, and then I just picked up a new sound card recently. It's not even a sound. I got an AD card. I got a Antelope Audio
Next step
Orion 32
Oh, those are sick.
Plus. I didn't get the HD because I didn't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Antelope's pretty high quality stuff.
Antelope is sweet.
Yeah.
It's I'm still learning it.
Right.
And I'll admit that.
Yeah.
I'm still learning it. It's super detailed. It's almost too detailed. I'm definitely hearing things that I hadn't heard before. I'll go back and listen to like old mixes, and I'm like, how the fuck did I get away with that? But it's okay, because it's just going to make me better as I push myself to learn it.
Yeah.
So the insecurity thing.
Yeah.
And this is really big. I was talking about, this goes out to anybody listening right now. Don't be insecure. I was talking about these themes, right? Everyone has them, reoccurring themes, right? Like maybe you hear someone say, wicked, and then all of a sudden you start saying it. You're like, oh, fuck, I can't stop saying it now.
I'm not from the East Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, we all have these reoccurring themes, these words that kind of crop up, right, as we go through life. And my theme recently is insecurity. And the reason why is because I've been in the music industry long enough to where I've built up a certain amount of confidence. And I still get knocked down every once in a while. Every once in a while, I'll do a mix for somebody, and they'll come back and they'll be like, I don't like it. And, I get bothered, and then of course my ego comes to the rescue, and then I'll usually calm down and I'll be like, what don't you like about it? How can you go fuck yourself? I'm just kidding. I've never said that. That's not true. Peace out to the persons that, no, I'm just kidding. So no, I'm totally kidding. But no, seriously. So this insecurity, right? So when you said, I'm not a mastering engineer, give yourself more credit.
Yeah.
Because you are.
Right.
Anybody who's mastering, if you're taking a shot at mastering, why aren't you a mastering engineer? And I think that we have this thing as musicians, as artists, where we have a hard time putting on a certain hat and saying, I am this, I am that. I'm a producer. I produce songs, whether it's for myself or for someone else. I'm a producer.
Right.
Some people haven't even gotten past that.
Totally.
If you've made a loop in Ableton, you're a fucking producer.
Right.
Well,
so let me. So I think that with mastering in particular, there's a stigma attached because you go online and you call yourself a master. Because you're room treated. You got a fucking you got an antelope, you got an apogee, and so I think people are afraid in that particular instance.
I get it, and maybe that's a testament to how far I've come in my getting over that insecurity. I'll say it right now. I didn't go to a school. When I started putting out music, mastering engineers were $200 a track.
Right. Well, I think that people are doing it out of necessity now because they can't afford it. We're not getting paid for our music.
Well, that's why I got into mastering, because as I finished a track, I knew it wasn't the same volume, fucking volume, or it wasn't even in the same realm as the stuff that was coming out.
Right.
So as I started reaching out to people that could master my track, they were like, 150 to 200 for one track.
Right.
For one track. So I was like, fuck that. I'll learn how to do it on my own. So I learned 11, 12 years ago. So I dove into books, and I had a lot of friends that went to Expressions, like Ivanov at Glitch Machines. Shout out to Evo. And so Evo gave me a lot of good advice. This other cat I knew that went there, I won't give him any screen time or credit. Sorry, dude. Just kidding. No, but and then I got to go and sit in studios and watch, and then a lot of my friends were writing albums that were getting mixed and mastered at that time. So I stole information, and then hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of practicing and testing and going to the car and going to the stereo and doing all the things, And still to this day, even before I drove out here, I'm putting out an EP in the next couple months, and I'm working on these 2 tracks. And I spent all day tweaking tiny little things.
Right.
5 hertz here, and little things just to tweak my master. So I'll do a master, and then I'll go back to my mix, and I'll tweak things in the mix because I know what it'll do to the master. So I've gotten to the point where I can go backwards. I can I can go. I know if I tweak something here, it's like a car. I'm like tuning a car.
Right.
But I don't have that insecurity where I'm like, oh, I didn't go to school or whatever. I went to school. I put myself through school.
Yeah.
I put myself through hell to learn how to mix and master.
Saves yourself some money along
the
way.
So anytime someone on YouTube comes along and goes, oh, this, blah, blah, I'm just like, all right, who's got the career?
Right. Totally. Peace out, bitches.
Yeah. So that's that.
Yeah.
And if you don't like my mastering, there's tons of people out there that, whatever. I just shoot it straight.
Yeah, I'll say that once I started, mastering and learning how to master, it made my mixes better.
Yeah.
Because I was able to go back and be like,
100%.
and I tend to, and not all the time, but a lot of times, especially with my own stuff, I will do like the full session, and because I have enough, computer horsepower now, I will also I'll do the mastering on the master bus with the whole mix. And I know it's very taboo, but for me, especially with my own stuff, it lets me, because if I'm bouncing out stems and then I have to go back and rebounce stems, it just adds this whole other process. So I'll just do that nudging kind of back and forth.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Does that process work for you?
It works.
Then fucking do it.
Fucking do it.
That's what I'm saying. So this again, there's that insecurity. So let's talk about this, because I know you're going to be like, dude, totally, right?
Yeah.
How many times have you told someone your process and they go to correct you or tell you that you're doing it wrong?
Right.
That's because they're fucking insecure.
Yeah. Right.
That's what I'm talking about. And that's the theme, is like, if there's one thing I can pass on, I think, as I work with artists, right? Like I produce artists. I actually produce more artists than I do mixing, mastering them. I mean, I do that for them in the end. But here's what I found out through my years of doing this. If it sounds good, it is good.
Yep.
If it's coming from you, if it's coming from a place where you feel it, and you put it out there and you feel like it resonates, then that's all that matters. At the end of the day, we live in a culture where people have told you that, Cardi B's music is good. Are you serious? What the fuck is wrong with people? You see what I'm saying? Like, this is not good.
Right.
But to someone it is. But only because it's been shoved down your throat.
Well, what if Bob Marley was like, well, I only have a 4-track tape recorder?
That's what I'm saying, man. The Beatles recorded their first album on a 4-track recorder.
Right.
Music is music is music.
Yeah.
If it sounds good, it is good, right?
Yeah.
So if you're doing your process and you put it out there, or you come into like a club and you play your track and it sounds good, then it is good, right? And if someone comes along and says, dude, this sounds like shit, it's your decision whether you listen to them or not. It's your own prerogative whether you take that advice and live by it.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of the tracks I've put out, don't appeal to everybody, but they appeal to me. They appeal to me, and I had fun making them, and they struck a chord in my soul, and so I brought them into this physical universe. I made them sound as good as I can. And the rest, I just don't care.
Right.
And so that's what I'm trying to say is there's an insecurity with some artists where they can't get past, where they're like, dude, check out my track. And then someone's like, oh, dude, what did you use on your fucking blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, it doesn't matter what they used.
Yeah.
Why do you care?
Even if they don't like the track, it doesn't even matter if they don't like it, because people have such diverse like tastes in music. And I learned that too kind of early on. I would show some of my best friends my music.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, they'd be like, well, first of all, if somebody is doing anything other than giving you 100% of their attention when you're listening to something, just don't play it, because people play something and they're on their phone and they're looking around, and it's just, first of all, that's gonna crush you, because you spend so much time putting,
If my friends are on their phone, I'll punch them.
Yeah, punch them in the dick.
Punch them right, right in the dick. No, I hear you.
Yeah,
I
had that insecurity, especially at first, and I had done this recent EP that I did, and again, I did it out of necessity, but I did put a lot of time into it, and kind of the pivotal moment for me was, I was at Lightning in a Bottle. I was at a music festival, and we were all kind of on one, so to speak, and we're playing tracks, and some of my friends are like, "Oh, put on your new EP. I love your new EP. It'll be perfect for right now."
Awesome.
So I put it on. We're playing. It's just Ice Machine, yeah.
Calm down, Ice Machine.
So we're playing tracks on this on one of these like UE Mega Booms or whatever, and we played my EP, and it fucking sounded great, and it was just as loud, and it was all of my insecurities were like, oh wait, like it sounds fine.
I have another. It's not even a theory. I have another thing for you to chew on.
Yeah.
The other thing that happened was that you felt what they were feeling. Right? Whenever we're around someone and they listen to it, we can actually feel what they're feeling or how they're thinking through music.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's such a conduit of energy. So what happened was you're listening to your friends. Not mansplaining it to you or anything, but what happened though is that your friends dug it.
Yeah.
And it gave you the boost that you needed. So your insecurity went down for two reasons. One, because they dug it, and two, you got over that initial step. It sounded good to you, but at the same time, you felt what they heard.
Right.
They heard it. It sounded good. They knew it sounded good. They heard it. It sounded good to them, and you felt it. It's an amazing feeling.
And I think too, more to your point, is I played it for them in a scenario where they were ready to accept it and to listen to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You catch someone when they've got their boss's email on their mind or whatever, and they're just not going to be ready to really take it in, because I mean we make music, so of course someone plays a song for you and you're like, yes, let's do it,
Yep.
But for them, they were in this kind of relaxed state of mind where they had a couple drinks in them. They're high as fuck. Accurate. And we're laying on these whatever, like blow up fucking couches or whatever. But people were in the state of mind to really kind of absorb and take it in.
Yeah.
And I think that I was talking to myself here and anyone else listening, but we might want to take that into consideration when you play your stuff for your friends.
Yeah, make sure your friends are on drugs when you give them your music.
It goes a long way.
It goes a long way. No, I think we can hear things. I experience this all the time where I have a client come in and we work on a track, right? And I generally do 2-hour sessions.
Nice.
I think I've done 3 hour, I've done 1 hour. 1 hour is not enough. 3 hours is too much. 2.5 is kind of, good, but 2 is good. 2 is enough to with a good producer, turn the vibe on and lay some shit down.
Yeah.
Right. I know some people are like, I'll do an 8-hour session. Well, yeah, but you're going to take breaks. But a lot of times when you're writing a dance track, you're not going to write a track and you're not going to do an 8-hour session. Maybe if you're like, Fleetwood Mac and you're trying to write an album, then, it makes sense. But for writing a dance track, I usually tell people, we're going to have about like 5-6 sessions come in, 2 hours each. And, that's that. So what'll happen though, is we'll have 2 hours and we'll write something. And then when they come in for their next session, we'll both hear it differently. Every fucking time.
Fresh
They're
ears.
like, right, because we're pumped. By the time they leave, we're both like, yeah, this is great. And then they leave, then they come back, and the next session they're like, that doesn't sound like it did last time, because there's an energy happening, right?
Yeah.
We're not really excited about the sound. We're excited because we're working together.
Yeah.
We're communicating.
And it's working.
And it's working.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're having fun.
Yeah.
Right. And so music sounds better when you're having fun.
Fucking amen.
There you have it.
Yeah.
So
that's why we have this.
So when you're mixing and mastering, it has to be fun as well.
Yeah. Right.
So the element of doing that is there's an element of fun. You've got to have fun, and yeah.
Do you think 2 hours is the kind of burnout? I mean, do you start to?
I get after 2 hours, my ears start to really get tired. I have to have a break.
Yeah.
So like if a client came in and they're like, hey, how do we do 4 hours? I would say, okay, well we'll do 2, and we'll take a break and goof off, get on our phones or whatever, and then we'll get back on and we'll do another 2 hours. And
Right.
I've done that before. It's okay sometimes. Just depends on my day and how things are going. But I generally stay pretty busy.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
When you're writing your own tracks, do you have any? So what I was telling Ryan and some of my other friends is I've kind of started this new thing where I try to make what I call a beat every day, which is just maybe a 8-bar, 16-bar loop, and I try to. It's not all,
It's a good challenge.
Yeah, and I try to do it every day,
Yeah.
and sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, But I also try to have no 0 days, meaning nothing like even for my music, right? So even this I would consider something, right? This isn't a 0 day
right.
because we're talking about music. This is kind of in the same vein.
Yeah.
But for me, that's been pretty paramount because what it does is it knocks out this kind of, oh well, I need the perfect inspiration and I need to be. I'm not feeling it right now. And it's like if you just do it every day, even if it's just maybe if it sucks, even if you spend 30 minutes or whatever. It's having that kind of catalog of ideas that you can turn back and be like, oh wow, and it's kind of like what you were saying is like you listen to them later on, you're like, wow, that's actually pretty good. Let me turn that into something. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's like doing yourself a favor in the future. You're setting yourself up for success. Because you can turn around and it like making samples and putting them into a sample folder that you then turn into other things. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. No, definitely.
So do you have any like kind of things that you do?
No, I stay pretty busy. You mean for like when I make my own tracks?
Yeah.
Generally, I don't do like any daily rituals when it comes to producing my own music. With running a label and then getting label requests when labels are like, hey, do you want to give us a track? I'm usually pretty deadline driven to finish my music. So I'll have sketching, I'll go through, sometimes I'll get really inspired and I'll go through like a sketching phase where I'm like, I'll do some sketches where I'll start writing, beats. I'll start writing beats and putting sound in. Like, I think of it like a artist is painting. I'll go and choose the colors, right? So I'll go and start throwing sounds in, and I'll start just putting tons of sounds in there. I'll like overdo it, like actually overdo it and put a bunch of stuff in there, and then but I'll shut it down and I'll move on, and then I'll move on to the next one. And then those sketches end up becoming my gold that I go back to.
Right.
So I actually won't touch them for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I'll go back and I'll see that I've had a period where I'm like, oh man, look at, I busted out 5 sketches.
So it's kind of the same thing.
It's kind of the same thing, but yeah, as far as a daily thing goes, it's the pitfall of living from audio is that I don't get as much time as I'd like doing my own stuff. My days generally consist of, I've got 2 businesses to run, which I've got, the Dark Star Audio, which is my, audio, service business. Then I've got the record label. And then, lastly is my career, but my career encompasses all of that. So I try to, it's like a triangle basically.
And they're facilitating each other.
Yeah, and they're all feeding off of each other.
Right. Right.
It's brilliant.
It is a good setup though.
Yeah.
I mean, because then you can help artists kind of develop and
No,
then
it's
also
great.
mix and master and release and.
It's brilliant because I get to work with other people. I get to produce them, and while I'm producing them, I'll discover things for myself that I'm like, damn, that was a cool trick. I'm gonna do that later for myself.
Yeah.
Or like, I'll get jealous isn't the word, but sometimes I'll work with someone and we'll come up with something so good that I am jealous.
Right.
I'm like, dude, this should be mine. Like this, I should be doing this.
Yeah.
And so that's always that always feels good.
Totally. Yeah.
So,
how do you feel about compression? Because what I've been doing lately is like applying more distortion, saturation rather than compressing.
yeah, I do both.
Do both,
It
yeah.
depends. I use compression, for lots of different things. It just depends on it. Again, it depends on that feeling. What kind of feeling I'm going for. But I use a lot of especially within Ableton, I'll use the saturator and the erosion. They've got these new pedals. They've got this new plugin where it's like a bass pedal.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like fuzz, overdrive, and distortion. I've used that a little bit. It comes down to that using the tool that's going to get the job done.
Right.
But I'm not like a compression heavy person. I use compression mainly on when I'm grouping to glue sounds together. I'll use it to tame transients when I'm mastering, and then I'll use it creatively.
Yeah.
I will. I'll use it creatively. I'll use it to smash the fuck out of a bass line, right? Like
Totally.
smash it. Just kidding.
There's in a world of very similar sounding plug-in compressors. I like the ones that are very different sounding. Have you heard of the Wolf compressor?
No.
It's made by Goodhertz. It's fucking amazing.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's very heavy-handed and
Oh,
it's
cool.
very colored. It's
I like heavy-handed and
yeah.
I like colored.
Yes.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was made.
Send that to me later.
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool.
So it was made to replicate the vinyl sim on the SP303, which is an old school drum machine sampler.
Oh, cool.
Phrase sampler.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, and all the other models didn't have the same vinyl sim effect as this one box.
Oh, interesting.
But what happened when you put your samples into this thing and you turned the vinyl sim on and you drove the master volume on this thing, it would give this crazy kind of pumping effect, kind of side chaining, more or less. But and it also added this weird crackle and stuff. And I'm actually in the market for getting an SP303 just because I want this effect. And the plugin is fantastic. It's not 100% there, but it is very good.
Yeah, very cool.
And it kind of adds this weird pumping and stuff.
I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that. I have a couple different compressors that I go back and forth on. My favorite compressor that I use for like instruments like synth, especially like synth and bass, is the Vericomp from Native Instruments.
Oh,
I use that one.
Nice.
It's like a purple compressor. Great sound.
Yeah.
Really good for like smashing things. They also have another compressor called the Supercharger, which is really good for like drum buses and smashing things and getting that good saturation overdrive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll use them. I think I probably, the more I think about it, I'll use compressors for the coloring. I really like
Yeah.
I like it when I like it when plugins add color because I can hear it more, and I know that there's a lot of the Waves plugins. There's no color. They're very transparent,
Right.
which is also very good. Same with the Fab Filter, their Pro C,
Yeah.
very transparent compressor.
Right.
So I'll use that, generally for like vocals. So anything that's like transparent, I'll use on like vocals, and
Right.
anytime I'm trying to like level out, something, which is traditional way of compressors, used. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's good to have both. You don't want all the dark compressors, and you don't
Yeah.
want all the clean compressors. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually. I got the Antelope Audio, and the reason why I bought that Antelope Audio is because I'm actually going to be building an analog front end.
Nice.
So I'll be picking up limiter, probably be picking up some compressors, and I'm looking at a couple different EQs. So I'm going to build a analog front end here.
That's awesome.
And that way I can offer our clients analog or digital.
Yeah.
Then they'll be able to hear the difference and decide what they want to do.
Right.
I've always been a big proponent that it doesn't really matter. I know some people might say this is kind of like a negative. I don't see it as negative. It's just kind of the way it is. But let's be really honest about dance music. When in the industry that I'm in, which is the producing dance tracks for clubs, they're disposable. And I hate to say that. I hate using that word.
It's true.
And I tell people, I tell my clients, I tell people. And I think, this is kind of like, one of those things that's like the reality that no one wants to talk about. But if we don't talk about it, then we can't make educated decisions. And the fact of the matter is it's disposable. Any track that's in the top 100 last year is no one's playing it anymore.
Right.
Right?
They might play it in 5-10 years.
Maybe if it was like a hit, like absolutely.
Right.
But I'm talking about like if we went to the top 10, we'll just say techno, we went to the top 10 techno right now. Those tracks aren't going to get played again in 2 years.
Right.
Maybe even in 2 months, they're not going to get played again.
Especially if it's like a phase, like
that's what I'm saying. So
Oliver Heldens, like the future bass, like that. It
God.
got so rinsed.
Dude, I've been doing it. Do you remember did you ever Fidget House?
Fidget House.
Fidget House was a thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, what? Fuck off.
I can't wait for this to be done.
I can't wait. Yeah, exactly. And then future bass. I was like, oh, here's another shit genre.
Yeah.
And I no offense to the people that hired me, I produced some future house tracks.
Right.
And I produced I did a lot of future house, like sample packs.
Yeah.
That people probably used.
But I would be willing to wager a bet that they came to you and said, I want this bass.
It was the same. It was at Oliver
and you
Heldens.
go back and
it's
you
like how many
reverse
times?
engineer it and,
how many times are you gonna so?
No.
Oh God. Yeah. But the point is that and even like a song like that, or even like Martin Garrix's Animals. Remember that was played a lot.
Yeah.
But people would look at you cross-eyed. Even I'm not even an EDM, but I guarantee if you bust that out at a festival right now, people will be like, "This song's old."
Right. Yeah.
Right. Even it's like what, maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
Like, no one gives a shit about that song anymore. Point being, when it comes to doing analog, to buying analog gear, that's my point. Is that should you have it mixed and mastered? Should you do your shit in analog? If you're doing tracks that are disposable, I'd say no. I'd say don't even worry about analog. Just make it sound as good as it can.
Right.
But if you're like hell bent on like, no, I don't care if it's disposable. I don't care if it hits the top 100. I don't care the lifespan of this track. I want it to sound good. So when I show my friends and family later, like it means something to me to like have the analog, summing, warmth, whatever, then fucking go for it. Do it. But otherwise, like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think too the disposable thing is maybe even more of a push for people to maybe realize like, let's not spend a month on this track. Like, let's crank this out. That's
exactly. That goes back to that, like when I said, I do like 5 or 6 sessions at 2 hours each.
Right.
And I tell any client that comes to me that wants to produce a dance track, I tell them, I say, we're not going to spend a copious amount of time on this. Right. My job as a producer is to get us to the other side.
Right.
So the minute we start, we're on a time clock. And we're not going to sit there and tweak a bass line for fucking 3 months.
You're going to learn more and be better off by producing more songs faster than you are just sitting around tweaking.
That's why people come to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, get it done.
Totally. So what was I going to say about? In regards to hardware, I tend to hear more of a difference when you're talking about like using like, let's say, hardware synths or samplers or drum machines than I do hearing a song that's been fed through a hardware LA2A or a VST version.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
I still,
you know,
I'll hear a track and I'll be like, oh, this was I hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, it's much more obvious hearing a real TB 303 or a 303 or a 606 or something versus a VST version. For whatever reason, it's weird, you know?
Yeah, I think there are some VSTs out there that do a good job of emulating hardware, but as someone who like I have plenty of hardware synths.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that when I use hardware synths in my tracks, they get more attention.
Right, and they stand out better.
They stand out better. It's
they,
true.
They take, so this is something too that was tossing around in my head the other day. So I obviously do video and photography. Video a little bit more out of necessity, but photography for fun and pleasure. But when you're doing photography and video, there's JPEG, which is kind of this compressed, baked-in thing, and it's not really very flexible. And then you have like RAW. You have RAW photos, RAW video. RAW video is like really like you got to have a very complex setup to get it. But the raw stuff is much more flexible, and you can push it around. You can push the colors around. You can push the saturation and the highlights and the darks and all this stuff.
Right.
And that's kind of how I feel about using like hardware synths and drum machines and stuff, because I just feel like it takes to processing better than VST stuff.
I think it's just it's equating it to like a real instrument.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to be, again, it's that feeling.
Right.
It's something to be felt.
Yeah. And it sounds so woo woo, but it's going through cables and it's going through another preamp, even if it's just the whatever, your Apogee or whatever, you know what I mean?
I agree 100%. I have some sense, and no matter how good the preset is or no matter how much I tweak it, it doesn't have the oomph that my hardware synthesizers have.
Yeah.
There are things that I've done. I have like certain chains, I'll call them like analog chains, where I've beefed up those VST parts.
Right.
And with a little bit of nudging, you can get them pretty close. You can do a Softtube has this plugin that I'll use in my chain to like beef up a synth, the Trident.
Trident.
Yeah, the Trident,
Nice.
a Trident A, I think is what it's called. It's like it's got six, faders on it. It's an EQ, but it's got the saturation, it's got a little light on it, and when it gets pushed too hard, it lights up and it adds that color.
Sweet.
And that and a little bit of EQing, I've been able to get, fairly close. But yeah, nothing sounds as good as like my Moog or my Analog Solutions. Those two synths were really powerful.
And there's also something for me, very tangible about hands-on. Like my exploration process is so much different when I'm tweaking knobs or looking at some little screen versus the computer. It's night and day.
Yeah. No, I've been very fortunate to be a mouse jockey. I'm like
Totally
with a mouse.
Yeah.
And I go. It just depends on the day and depends on the project I'm doing. Like if I go into writing mode and I'm doing like a sample pack, then it's imperative that I get in and get hands on, and get in and just start tweaking things and making sounds.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm producing and I'm not, tweaking. I'm just putting shit together and making it work.
Right.
So. Yeah.
So I guess maybe two things we can go into. I want to ask about what hardware you do have, and then maybe let's also talk about like the process of creating a sample pack.
Sure. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Hardware. The sound card. I've got the Antelope. And then I use the Native Instruments 61, the Control 61.
Oh yeah.
With the screens, the
Complete.
Complete. Yeah, Complete. I've got a Analog Solutions fuse box. It's like an orange box. It's got the built-in patinator, which is really cool. Moog, little fatty.
I got one too.
Yeah, I got Electrons, the really old synth I got about 12, 13 years ago called SID Station. And it's got the Commodore 64 sound chip in it.
Ooh.
And it's like all the, that is the sound chip in it. So it's like a very Atari Commodore sounding synth. And then I also have the Electron Rhythm MK2.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
The drum machine. So I've got that. I've got Moogs, Drummer from Another Mother, Dreadbox's NYX synth,
Yep.
Novation Circuit,
Yeah.
Mono Circuit.
The new one?
Yeah, not Circuit, Mono Station.
Mono Station. Okay.
Mono Station.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does
Circuit's
the
the
CBL.
new one.
Yeah, not the
Yeah.
Circuit, but the Mono Station.
Okay.
Let's see, what else do I have? Manther. The Manther, who makes the Manther? It's got a step sequencer built into it. Oh, Meleco? Yeah, Meleco. Melkko Manther. Meleco Manther.
Interesting.
Yeah, they generally do like Eurorack plugins.
Oh, yeah.
And this is their first tabletop synth, and it's got a 16-step sequencer. Does 4
shit.
pages, so 64 steps actually, and it's fucking brutal.
That's
This thing-
awesome.
yeah, it's all analog.
What's it called?
Everything. The Manther.
Manther.
Yeah, like Panther, but Manther.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool. What else do I have? I know I'm missing a few. I've got quite a few. Oh, I've got the Arturia 2S.
Okay.
The Brute, the Micro Brute, the
Micro
2S.
Brute,
It's
yeah.
got the sequencer on
Right.
it. And then I've got the...
I like the Arturia stuff.
yeah,
I'd
no,
really like to get the Matrix Brute.
Yeah, the
That
Matrix.
thing's
Is that the...
fucking sick. The one with
oh, the big one.
The 64
Yeah.
pad button.
Yep.
It's it's a
Yeah.
mono synth.
Yeah,
but
it's huge.
I mean, the amount
It's
of
banged like
possibility.
2K.
The reason why I really like
Oh,
that
it's so big.
is because it has it to me. I mean, first of all, I'm a huge fan of one knob per function equipment.
Yeah.
Which that almost is, and then also it looks like if you took a VST synth that was awesome and
Yeah.
you made it into a real thing. You know what I mean? It's got like the macro knobs, which
Yep.
no hardware has macro knobs.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
for
macro
that.
knobs are way cool.
Dude,
especially
yeah.
in software.
Right.
They do the Brute Rack.
Brute rack. Yeah.
I've got that attached to the 2S, and I'm building my Euro rack out
Nice.
as well. So I've got some Euro rack modules.
Nice.
I just thought of another synth that I had. I was like, oh, you have the... I can't remember what it is. I have a Virus.
Oh yeah, I'd love to get a Virus.
Oh, and I've got the Electron Analog 4.
Oh, sick.
So I've got a couple... Yeah, so the Analog,
Yeah.
the Analog 4.
Yeah, Virus and some Electron stuff is on the top of my list to get.
Yeah, I've got that 303. When Roland did that Boutique series.
Oh,
I
yeah.
picked up the 303.
Nice.
So I've got the 303.
Yeah.
And I think I've got some various other like sequencers.
Yeah.
Like
It's a pretty round list.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still adding to it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't use it as much as I'd like to. But yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Dude, we could talk about fucking
Yeah.
gear just live
Yeah, no,
the
for
whole
sure.
podcast. So yeah, what about the maybe we'll make this the
Sample
last topic here. Yeah.
Sure.
About making a sample pack, like starting and
Yeah.
you know.
Well, first you've got to have the mental space to do it. Making a sample pack is not easy. I actually had a sample pack business at one time, and it was doing all right. But there were some disagreements between I and the partner I had at the time, so we ended up just going our separate ways. Really good guy, but we just didn't see eye to eye on things. No big deal.
Yeah.
But so I've had a sample pack business, and Fierce Animals, has put out some sample packs, and then I've done sample packs for Sample Magic and Control and various other Able Tunes. I've done lots of, I've worked for quite a few different sample companies. The best way to do a sample pack is to reverse engineer it. I would say that if there was anybody listening that was like, no, I really want to make a sample pack, how do I get started? I would say don't worry about who's going to sign it. Don't worry about who's going to pick it up. If you really think you can make a really good pack, someone will pick it up. So just start there. And then I would say focus on what you're good at. Focus on a genre that you're really, really good at. And go and find a pack that you think is really good.
Yeah.
And fucking reverse engineer it. So what I'll do is I'll find a pack that I think is really good, and I'll copy its folder system.
Yeah.
Right. So you get a pack and it's like, bass and drums, beats, whatever.
Right.
I will literally I will make a copy of that, and then I will empty it out. I'll take all the samples that are in it and just throw them out.
Yep.
Then I'll pull up a pad, I'll pull up a text note, and I'll say that there were 50 bass lines, there were 50 drum loops, and then there was 60 this and 70 that, and there were 10 effects, whatever. I will literally reverse engineer it. I will go and I'll write down what it took. And then I will, I'll work on the bass lines. I'll go work on the bass lines, and I'll tell people, don't bother me for the next couple of days. I'm working,
Right.
So, yeah.
So I've always wondered, like, are there any rules? Like, let's say, you obviously don't want to use other sample packs to make your like drum hits per se.
Yeah, you're not really supposed to. You know, what I'll do is
synthesizing
layering.
drum hits?
So if
Yeah.
you know, here's the thing: when you're making a pack, how are you supposed to make a pack unless you've got a bunch of analog gear that you can, you know? But even then, you're still like, okay, you're still sampling from something.
Right.
So if I'm going to do drums, if I'm going to do like one shots, I will use tools like Reactor, where I can load in multiple drum sounds
Mangle them.
and then mangle it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'll use something where it's like, or like what's this other native instruments, Polyplex, I think is what it's called. Polyplex, yeah. I'll use things, I'll use tools that allow me to, and any tool that does like randomization. So let me give you an
I
example.
love randomization.
Say you load up 5 drum kicks,
Yeah.
5 kicks to this instrument, and so it's got 5 different layers. Let's say 5 layers, and each layer allows you to load a folder, right? So maybe layer 1, I'm loading up folder 1 with 100 kicks, and then the next folder is like 2. Folder 2 has another 100. So basically, every layer has 500 kicks for it to choose from.
Right.
And then I'll hit a random button, and it just goes in these folders and grabs, different. It's always going to be a different combination, and there's my kick drums. I'll do the same with snares and hats or whatever.
And then maybe you like hit a bunch of them and then choose the best of the combinations.
Exactly.
And
So that's generally the way I go about doing that. What's Sonic Academy makes a kick VST. I think it's called Kick.
Oh, it's Kick. I have
Yeah,
it.
Kick.
Yeah, Kick and Kick 2.
Kick is
It's
great.
Nicky Romero's.
Yeah. So Kick is great too because you can tune those. So you can load up a kick and use the tuning feature and mess around with that for a second, and you've got a kick, and,
Totally.
and then you just bounce.
Yeah.
So it's not hard. You just have to you've got to be creative.
Yeah.
And this is probably going to sound like a really shitty thing to say, but if you're not creative, then you probably shouldn't be doing music.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody.
It's kind of painfully obvious when you hear someone that's...
I see so many times people are like, it's like the perception, right? We go into life and we perceive someone, I admit that's why I'm here, we perceive, especially in America, we perceive someone, in a different place than us, and then it's like, look at them, they're DJing, and people are screaming their names, and
Like
their
they
hands are in
have
the
it all
air,
figured out.
and there's girls all over them, or there's guys all over, or whatever, and we go, if I had his life, I'd be happy.
Right.
And that's what you have. I'll fucking say it. 70% of people in the music industry in America, they're here because they think it's going to make them happier, or they think they're going to achieve some level of success that's going to complete their life.
Right.
And what was life-changing for me was going to Europe and hanging out with a lot of real producers, people that live from producing, and seeing that their job was no different from being a mailman. In Europe, they just do the fucking thing. Like, especially in the UK, I have, friends there, they produce, when they put a track out, it has a lifespan. They put a track out, it's going to radio, it's going to promo, it's going to have a lifespan. It's going to do something for their career so that they can get it's a business card, a calling card.
Right.
Whereas here in America, it's like, I put a track out, I'm a star. No, you haven't done jack shit.
Right.
So being a producer, doing sample packs, mixing, mastering, it's being, you're hustling nonstop.
Yeah.
To have a music career.
And they're all facets that build the bigger whole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and I hate to I hope I don't sound like too like a jackass, but I think that anybody that goes into that has their sights on their sights set on, I'm going to make it in the music industry. I think there's some harsh realities out there, and everybody's path is different.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you're not going to produce a track and then fly to the fucking moon.
Right.
You might.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Sometimes you might Martin Garrix it.
But yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to recognize some of the pitfalls and to see some of the realities. Maybe they're just my realities. No, I don't know. No, but I mean, obviously, we have a shared reality.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
So, do I think that anybody that produces a track is going to make it and become a star? I don't know. Maybe it depends. I've produced people and they've have careers now.
Right.
They're out there and they're touring all around and they're doing things, and I've produced people and they've gone nowhere.
Right.
And it always always makes me sad when I've helped people and they haven't seemed to have been able to take the next steps to help themselves. But I think some people live in kind of like this false reality where they think that something's going to get handed to them. Nothing gets handed to anybody.
Right.
You know, sometimes you write you Martin Garrix said, you write a track that just resonates and it just ripples through the fucking, stratosphere, and people just it's like it just happens.
Right.
And, God bless you to anybody that, that happens to.
Totally. I tend to think that everyone has a certain level of success in them, and it's just a matter of
it's finding your purpose.
Finding how far you can take it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure my purpose was in porn, but I missed my
A
calling.
missed opportunity.
I'm just kidding.
It's never too late.
I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, we've been going for an hour and a half.
All right.
So I think we'll wrap this one up. Love to have you back.
Yeah, I'll come back. It was fun. I mean, the atmosphere, the setting here is just so great. How can you not? It's very inspiring for just to have like a free flowing conversation. You're
Totally
in the thick of it. At one of the best clubs, if not
Yeah.
the best club in San Francisco.
right.
And
this is the end result for what you and I do. I mean,
it is the end result.
Yeah.
It is definitely the
one of the end results.
one of the end results.
Yeah. This right here.
Yep.
Cool, man. Well, hey, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, and let's got to thank Halcyon for letting us host here. Gina,
you.
Rhea, Leah, JoJo.
Yeah.
And you can find the podcast, the VEM podcast, Voice of Electronic Music, on Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, Podbean, IG Live. I think I'm doing Mixcloud now, so we'll be on Mixcloud.
Okay, cool.
Basically every major platform. So,
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, we will see you guys next one, and cheers. Have a good one.
Okay.
Yeah. See you guys.